Hello everyone and welcome back to the Covenant Cast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Steven, and today we're going to be talking about a large number of things. Arkham just had a new expansion announcement, which means the new cycle is kicked off. I also played some Arkham this weekend, so I'd love to talk about that. We've also got Destiny spoilers being revealed here for the very first time, as well as some news on Champions, Transformers, and more. So stay tuned. All right, let's kick it off here. Welcome, everybody, to the podcast. We're glad to have you. We always are. We don't say it often enough.
No air horn today?
I do have the air horn at the ready. Just in case. So if you guys haven't been checking it out, we've got kind of a rolling now Monday live stream that's happening. We've been having a lot of fun with that. So if you're listening, you're unaware of that, you haven't seen it yet, we'd love to have you join us on Mondays. Generally, that's starting at 4 p.m. Central Time.
Yep.
And we're rolling till it's funny because we always say like 6, but then we always like keep wanting to play games.
6:37. Yeah, and so we've been doing it on Facebook and YouTube, and then the video stays on Facebook after it's over, and then usually ends up on YouTube a day or two later. But one of the coolest things for me is that, you know, we're playing and interacting with people as we're streaming in the comments and stuff, but like the interactions of that community that's happening, like while it's happening, is really cool to watch. Where like you have the same people kind of showing up week to week to watch.
Yeah.
And now they start interacting, and so that's just been fun to watch.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you, you guys listening. We were hoping that we could create this kind of sensation of, like, you know, your Monday night go to the game store kind of thing. And I had talked to Ian Birdsall a long time ago about live streaming. I believe it was Ian. And he said, he was a FFG employee at the time, and he said that he, whenever he went home to cook dinner, would put on live streams of video games. And I was like, why? Like, you're not playing, you're not engaged with it. Like, why you just want to watch a video game? And he was talking about how it kind of bridges the gap because he wants to be playing and he enjoys the experience of seeing the game played and like being a part of that, you know, that energy, but doesn't have the time in most evenings to actually sit down and do it. So he gets that taste of playing video games while he's cooking dinner and doing other things. And so it seems like we're kind of starting to be able to hit that too, where it's like we have the great luxury of having a lot of people around that are willing to play any of these games that we support at any time. And we can offer that as kind of a bridge to a lot of people out there who I think undoubtedly would love to play games more often. But you know, you got to cook dinner, you got to take care of your family, and having that on in the background, I think, is a cool thing, and everybody can get together, like you said, and become a little community on Monday nights.
Yeah, well, and I think it's really cool, you know, just to kind of see this whole industry take shape and evolve in different ways. But it reminds me a lot of the app for Warhammer Champions. We've been talking about that quite a bit on the cast, but this idea that like the people that can't make it out to a store or to a community multiple times a week or even weekly or monthly, having some way to engage in the hobby where they get to stay involved, so that when they actually do get out, it's more meaningful, right?
Yeah,
and so like the live stream's cool, especially for people that can't do that as well, which is a way to just engage with the game without necessarily having to engage, right? Like, because maybe wherever people are playing is an hour away, and like you don't have 2 hours to spend doing that on a Monday night kind of a thing.
It's just not quite as much of a commitment. And I think the flawed argument to me, and maybe we're the ones who are flawed on this, but
always possible.
I think the argument has been if we, and maybe not even consciously, if we force people to engage in games only in person, then everybody will keep playing in person. If we give them the opportunity to play games not in person, then nobody will play in person. And I think that's just fundamentally untrue.
Well, it reminds me a lot of like Napster back in the 90s.
Whoa.
Well, the reason is because like essentially the saying was like, well, if we give people the ability to buy digital songs, or if we give them the ability to buy a single song, not the whole album, like the industry is going to go under.
Yeah.
Like it has to be albums, and it has to be a whole album from a physical store. And then what happens though is when you resist, right? To me, Napster reminds me a lot of like Gentechie.net or
unless
Tabletop
like
Simulator.
Stealing music was a big thing.
Napster
like,
was that.
It was just
it was
downloading, and that's like, well, that's...
It was questionable. It was sharing at the time. It's
Yeah,
retrospectively illegal, I think, at some point. But it was like I was sharing my file with you, right? Because technically that you could do that back in the day too. It's like I could download the CD and I could hand you the CD, and then you could do it.
That's true.
And that wasn't necessarily like outlawed, but then it got out of
Got a
control.
little shady.
But it reminds me of these, like, if the publishers aren't willing to create the solution, the community will.
That's true. That's actually very true. Yeah.
Like, it's not that you can't regulate it. It's like, I get what that argument's trying to do, but at the same time, it's like, we've had this conversation a lot, but if people, given the choice, will choose to do the digital over the physical enough that it doesn't make sense to do the physical anymore, tabletop games fundamentally have a problem that isn't going to be solved by avoiding the technology. Because whether the community figures it out or a new person comes into the industry and does it, it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
We've already had...
we've got Artifact coming, and
Hearthstone?
Yeah.
Hearthstone? It's Hearthstone. I got it right the first
Earth. No, you have to say it like Earth. Hearthstone. Isn't that
time.
right?
Hearth,
Hearth?
like a fire.
Oh. I get that wrong every time,
Hearthstone.
don't I?
Yeah, you do. It's really great. You're trying to get it right and you're getting it wrong. I do that too because I fix it and then it's like, well, I need to fix it and I fix it wrong.
I had the trick in my head. It's like, just say it like Earth, but that's completely wrong.
Yeah, don't say it like Earth.
Yeah.
Hearth.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways,
Fine.
So yeah,
Sounds like I'm a dwarf.
It's been
Dwarf.
fun. We've been streaming. We stream a dwarf.
Ruin.
Road. Anyways, we stream a rotating cast of games, so you can check that out, and we'll be doing that.
Speaking of rotating cast of games, let me tell you about Arkham. So, first of all, everybody who's not playing Arkham needs to be playing Arkham. That's just the disclaimer that I put on this game. Second, we've got a new cycle coming. I believe this is the 4th cycle, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, Lordy, I have no idea.
Let's see, Dunwich, Carcosa, Forgotten Age, and now the Circle Undone.
That's pretty impressive that you remember that.
I'm a pretty dedicated... It's one of my actual, like, consistent games that I'm playing. That's the thing, is like, so a competitive game waxes and wanes for me based on format, card pool, meta, etc.
Time available for you.
Arkham, you never have to consider that. It's a cooperative game, so you only ever have to decide when to get together to play it.
Well, and it's like, it's the kind of thing, because I think this is the case for you. You've gone months without playing before, and sometimes you'll play a lot in the course of a month.
Yeah.
But it is the kind of game you can walk away from and then come back to.
It's perfect.
So it really...
It's perfect like that.
It's great.
So let me read you this. The Soothsayer's Tarot wove a tale of a grim future hard to put out of your mind, but when you learn that 4 people have disappeared without a trace from an estate in French Hill, you begin to wonder if this cruel fate is meant only for you or for the entirety of Arkham. Fantasy Flight Games announced the Circle Undone, a new deluxe expansion. And what we're going to do is embarking on a path that draws you back to Arkham itself, the Silver Twilight Lodge, which I believe is going to be bound up in all sorts of witchcraft.
It looks witchy.
Strange rituals, spirits of the dead that do not sleep easy. So what I think is happening is we're dealing with, witches and occult stuff, and it's not quite... So Dunwich to me was more of kind of monstrous, almost ghouly type stuff.
Like
that
Cthulhu?
kind of weirdy stuff. And then Carcosa was just... It's Carcosa. It's bizarre. It's just confusing. And then the Forgotten Age, of course, is kind of the more, I feel like, South American mythos and kind of the strange blood sacrifice.
It's like this like old
that
world.
Aztec, Mayan kind of thing.
This looks like it's going back to spooky ghouls and ghosts kind of a thing.
Well, this to me almost is kind of like, Salem stuff, uneasy, witches doing weird stuff, poltergeists,
there's these weird little things happening, but it's not necessarily like a giant monster came in the night and took people kind of a thing.
Right. It's like the stuff that everybody was worried about in the colonies. Now, I could be wrong about that, but that's just kind of what I'm reading into the preview. Another piece of this is the tarot element, which I think is going to be a super big deal. So we talked about on the cast, I think it was last week before, the tarot card previews that were happening on Fantasy Flight's Twitter. So we still aren't sure, but there's certainly tarot traded things in this box, and there are tarot cards appearing on cards. Now, I don't think they'd have all this beautiful, full, giant card art of these gorgeous tarot cards that they're going to shrink into tiny little rectangles on tiny little rectangular cards. So something tells me, and I know how I don't know this, but I'm learning more about how Matt Newman's mind works. And if he
being studied, if you're listening, by the way.
If he can do something supremely interesting, he will always take that option over like the expected. I have a sneaking suspicion that those tarot cards are going to appear in some capacity either outside of like the standard encounter deck or as a thing that you add to your player decks. And like if you draw the tarot card during play, it means something based on the scenario, or you have to interpret them. I think they're going to be a a persistent part of this entire cycle.
Sure.
In their full like card form, maybe a separate deck. I don't know what it's going to be, but that is my guess. I'm putting it on the record.
I wonder, you could also, the way I was kind of speculating that it was going to go is that they would basically have a tarot card deck that you get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then like, you were saying it goes in their deck. I was saying, or thinking that essentially you have the chaos bag, but then like sometimes instead of going chaos bag, you go tarot card.
Oh man, yeah. Well, you could even go tarot, and you could skip the bag altogether. I guess that would invalidate a lot of abilities, but that's interesting.
You know, like certain things trigger in the game where it's like this is a tarot effect, not a chaos bag thing.
Or what if it's a kind of thing where at the end of the scenario, reveal the top 2 tarot cards, and then that determines the resolution as to where you go next. Like, oh, I revealed the death.
That determines your fate.
That would be so cool.
I mean, it's all fate-based, right? Like Destiny, fate.
I have to imagine that's so cool that something like that is going to happen. I have not been disappointed by Arkham whatsoever.
Well, I feel like that tarot art is too good.
It's too good.
To not just take full advantage of. Yeah, for sure.
Now, I played on Saturday.
The 13th thing you've been talking about for a few podcasts.
Yeah, and I hope everybody else did as well. We were kind of making that a community play. We didn't push that, but although that's something we've been considering. But man, we had a great time. Always so good. And we finished out Carcosa. So we're done with, now we're entering Forgotten Age. So right about the time, now if we really get on it, we might be able to get through Forgotten Age on the way to this one.
I was going to say, I don't think this is going to be until like, you still got a month or two. I don't know what it says. Is it Q1 at the bottom of that article? I've noticed they started removing that.
Yeah, I don't think they're saying anything.
From the articles about any kind of speculation.
But Arkham's like, it's steady. Like, I get the sense that it's super consistent. But I don't know, it's cool. We can play about 3 scenarios every time we meet up. Because we don't jam them. We like to like really take our time.
Sure.
Have some drinks, like, you know, sit around, have some food and some drinks, and just really enjoy the experience, which is it's just so fun. But it was great, man. You really got to get in on that. We've got to get kind of another group going.
All right, I'm in. Arkham is consistently the game that like I know I need to play.
Yeah.
But like 1, you have to have a group. 2, you have to have time. I have time now, which is great. A lot less traveling over the next 6 months.
That's right, and the wedding isn't going on
anymore. Move, wedding, travel. Really, our work schedule from like March to September was crazy.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And the weather in Oklahoma
is great.
This past weekend, it was rainy and cold, and we got to get together and just sit and play games for 6-7 hours.
That's a great weekend for that.
Oh my gosh, so good. So everybody should be doing it if you can. Arkham, the card game, really incredible. You want to move right into Destiny? You want to talk about the spoilers?
This is big.
You want to save those for last? Let's do them now.
All right, let's do them now. Let's
just give people the value.
So FFG, we talked about it last week as well, but they finally posted a spoiler article. I was expecting by the time we recorded this to have another spoiler article, but
haven't seen one yet.
C'est la vie.
The site was being slow here just a second ago, so maybe
Heartbeat still.
No.
Just that Fallout board game expansion.
Just that, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so we got spoilers.
Spoil on.
Yeah. What I am going to be doing is I'm not sure which ones yet. I think I'm going to do this the day after we record this on Thursday, and the podcast is going to go Friday. But I'm going to be writing a blog with at least some of these cards in it, building a deck and kind of talking about the spoilers and stuff. So I've been looking at them and kind of diving in. We ended up getting 2 characters from the Solo movie, which are Tobias Beckett and Val, the couple from the movie. You haven't seen the movie, though.
I haven't seen the movie, no. I'm waiting for it to come to like the streaming stuff. And apparently this is the last one that's going to do that because Disney's doing their streaming service next year. Yeah. Which is
with the like live action TV show and all that kind of stuff.
They're going to spread all these streaming. They're all trying to grab it, and they're spreading too thin, and it's going to backfire in some way.
I mean, it depends on the price.
Right? Disney probably $80 a month.
Well, I think it's the price and the content they're able to offer.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if Disney's example is doing a season of a cartoon show for Star Wars and a live action Star Wars show every year, and they also have Marvel
and the entire Disney
catalog,
children's movie back catalog.
But really, and I'll kind of just mention this really quick, which is I think that I just kind of short-circuited, but I'm trying to condense this down as little as possible. But I feel like the format of entertainment in terms of movies, and this may be applicable to games, maybe not, is shifting away from movies and into television, which is like these 10-episode seasons of shows that have a bigger budget than the old like sitcoms did, but also like not as big of a budget or intensity as a 2-hour movie. Because also like the validity of like a movie theater, kind of going back to the whole digital versus physical card games on an app kind of a thing. It's like, it feels like that's slowing down. So this idea of the big blockbuster movie with the $300-400 million budget seems to be getting more rare. Yeah. And like as the spoilers have been kind of rolling out for the live action Star Wars show, it's like if they had taken the $400 million they spent on Solo and instead given us 20 episodes of 2 seasons of a show, it's like
that Mandalorian thing. That's
exactly. It's like, which one's really better?
Well, I think that also you've got to imagine the data is showing, and I just know from my own habits and talking to the people who I associate with, like the reality of sitting down for a 2 to 2.5 hour movie is very rare compared to 30 minutes to 45 minutes for an episode.
Yeah.
Like I can do that one every night, and if I'm really into a show, I will. But like if I want to watch a movie, I put it on a list basically, and then like 3 months from now, when I have a free weekend, I might watch it.
Well, and then like if you're going out to a theater, now it's like a planned event.
I can't even imagine. I'm actually doing it Sunday.
Going to a movie?
So I can't imagine.
So funny.
But it's for our anniversary. It's Shannon and I's anniversary.
But
we're going to the matinee. We're seeing that Lady Gaga
A Star Is Born?
Yeah, oh my god.
Yeah, with Bradley Cooper. It looks great. Yeah, it looks
she
great.
looks great. That the whole everyone's raving about it. The music's come out of that has been awesome. I watched that Lady Gaga documentary. I think it was last year, which is worth a watch.
All right.
If you haven't seen it.
Thumbs up from downtown over there.
Really incredible. And so I like her a lot as an artist. And she just recently did a carpool karaoke thing too, or at least I saw it recently.
Yeah,
it wasn't recent, but I saw it recently.
That's well, I'm curious to hear about that experience next week. But the short version to me is that like, we're just going to talk about Star Wars and like what's going on. And I feel like, and I think Star Wars is great for this as an example, things are shifting towards television. And I don't even know how I got here from these spoilers.
And it's too saturated.
Yeah, it is very
the whole thing
saturated.
is we're going to find out that like nobody has time to pick between 1,000 great TV shows.
Yeah.
So like what's going to happen whenever all of
But
this
now's
comes
the race,
collapsing?
right? So we'll see what happens. So anyways, on to the spoilers. Just a nice little 3 or 4 minute segue there.
Yeah, say we're going to spoil it and then
the
talk
thing is,
about
you haven't
nothing.
seen it. That's where we got.
Yes.
I'm now back around.
Can you start with the uncommon?
The uncommon.
Let's go from
How do
the
I tell?
least rare all the way up.
So you know what's
right
nuts?
side to left side.
I'm gonna make a prediction. We have 4 cards here: 2 characters, an upgrade, and a plot. And I think that the uncommon plot is the most important card of the 4.
Oh, of course it is. I mean, in fact, it's a big old flashing red light to Steven's
old Steve Rooney
game designer
now,
brain.
I'm gonna challenge that in a second. So we'll just reveal it. It's 2 cost plot, yellow. You can include 1 additional copy of up to 2 different cards in your deck, following all other deck building restrictions. So typically 30 card decks, you can have 2 of every card in the deck. Mm-hmm. So for 2 points, you can include a 3rd copy of 2 of those cards.
Right.
Why is there a red light flashing in old Steve Aroni's head?
Steve Aroni is a great nickname. The biggest reason is that Destiny has a number of cards that I feel like are pushing against the boundaries of what's acceptable and are only okay because they're seen so rarely. Hyperspace Jump being an example of one of those kinds of cards. You can skip your opponent's entire turn twice a game, right? Whenever you can recur that from like your discard pile, it gets really bad. But whenever you can just natively have 3 copies, that's 1 out of 10 cards in your deck, right? So there are going to be some cards that are revealed now to be over the curve because they're seen so much more often. IMO, my opinion. Especially whenever you have a strong 2-card combo that now you have 3 of each of those combo pieces.
To be able to hit.
I just think anytime you're doing things that enable combos to be more abusive and more consistent, you got to be careful. And that's me as somebody who hates playing the combo game, but I do think that the general audience of Destiny, whenever there is a combo that really is not fun, this is the card that's going to be the linchpin to making it consistent.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 2 costs, which isn't a factor if you're basically running single die. Threw my pen around there. If you're just running single die versions of characters, let's say 3 characters, and the real magic of the deck happens in the interaction of the cards. So my first place I went with this was, as you won't be surprised, was to Sith Holocron.
Sure.
Which is like, the biggest problem with Sith Holocron decks, as good as that card is that if you construct your deck around it, and then you just don't see it, if those 2 Holocrons are actually at the bottom of your deck, it's bad.
Yeah.
Like your cost curve is just horribly bad. Like it's kind of almost unplayable unless you also have a way to get a lot of resources outside of that card as
Yeah,
well.
to ramp up, yeah.
So, you know, it's like, oh, you can run 3 holocrons and like 3 of whatever your favorite force ability is, and like pretty consistently.
You're just a very nice player.
Yeah,
I was thinking like Crime Lord and
Ace in the hole.
Ace in the hole.
Yeah, it's like let's do this thing. Well, and I think that's the next step on that to me is like immediately heroes can play 3 hyperspace jump, 3 retreat. Mm-hmm. So if you have an action cheaty deck, you can do some actions, do some damage. 6 of the cards in your deck, 1 out of 5, so about 1 a hand, can just end the round.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
That's what I'm talking about.
Annoying.
That's what I'm talking about.
There's also the Launch Bay combo deck that was going around.
Yeah.
Which is like essentially that deck draws its whole deck, and then Launch Bay hits for like lethal.
What could be more
time.
fun, Zach?
It's just it's a classic combo deck, which is like it doesn't happen consistently enough.
Yeah.
But this is exactly the kind of card that does that.
Yeah.
Because now you can run a 3rd copy of the cards that draw you cards, right? Whatever the various pieces of the combo are. And we'll see.
So are you also worried?
I'm always worried. I'm like C-3PO up in here. Just always a little nervous.
It is yellow, right? It's neutral yellow.
It is neutral
so
yellow.
You got to run yellow. So
you have to play yellow, and it's 2 points. That's the real catch for me, because like even those combo decks don't have the points necessarily to just spare.
Yeah.
So we'll see how bad it is.
We'll find out.
Yeah, but if you pair this with a really good balanced card design, less of a problem, because all the cards we're talking about aren't in the 2nd cycle.
That's true. So they'll be out of here for very soon.
Yeah, like one more set.
I can't wait.
Yeah, rotation's where it's at.
Let me take the next one, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's probably worth
you want to hit Tobias first?
doing the rifle with Tobias. So we've got Tobias Beckett. He's the legendary that we're spoiling. Got 11 health, 11-15 on the point spread. And that seems to be kind of the going rate these days. 11 or 12, 15, 14, 15.
There's also in the set they previewed, the first article had like Iden Versio, who's an 11-15, I think, and the other character we have here is 15 or less. A lot of the characters in the article, like the new Han Solo's 15, Kira's 16, but like you go down the list and it's like, it feels like a lot of characters are in that 14 to 16 range.
Kind of playing the 2 double dice.
Which is an archetype in the game that I think it makes sense, right?
I think it's the most, it's
early
great.
on, there were a lot of decks that was like, well, I can't really run so-and-so with like Han and Chewie. It's like, I can't play them together. Like, this is kind of lame.
And didn't Jeremy say he set out to really fix that?
Yeah, which makes, of course you want to play Han and Chewie.
Absolutely.
Or Han and Lando, they also fit together.
So Tobias Beckett, Thief for Hire, character, leader, scoundrel, has a power action, which I think is important. Each player gains 1 resource. Okay, that doesn't seem bad.
That's insane. Especially in multiplayer.
Yeah.
2v2, bam.
Has a special symbol, and it takes 1 resource from an opponent. If that opponent has no resources, gain 1 resource, which is really good.
Taking 1 is obviously way better, but you always at least get 1.
You always at least get 1, which is great.
Yeah.
So it's going to be able to accelerate and ramp very consistently, at least, but it only has 1 special on the die. Then the die is 2 range damage, 3 range damage for $1, 1 focus, 1 disrupt, and then the special symbol and a blank. So it's an adequate die.
Yeah,
it's not writing home.
I feel like 2/3 is fine. That's kind of another standard, right?
His 3 for 1's not nearly as troubling because he gains so much money.
Because he can always get you money. But I think where I just naturally see him fitting in is a single die, 11 points for 11 health, and a yellow character to get yellow cards. And then more important than anything is just that power action.
Yeah.
And so if you have a deck that can either steal money or keep your opponent low on money, giving them money is not as painful. But like knowing turn 1, unless they can do something, your first action could be gaining money.
Yeah.
Play a 3 cost. Like every turn you can play a 3 cost.
It really levels out the curve of that deck.
It just changes your
You can
your
play
math.
You can play a lot more fun things, honestly. You don't have to worry about that weird 2 cost.
And it's just the kind of thing where like when your deck is built to play to this and theirs isn't.
And theirs shouldn't be.
Yeah,
right?
then it can be really, really strong.
And then we have Tobias Beckett's rifle, which is a very cool looking rifle, I've got to say. It's like a bunch of long Tootsie Rolls. 3 cost, unique, upgrade weapon. The text is, after you play this upgrade on Tobias Beckett, you may force an opponent to lose 1 resource. So, in a grand, beautiful world, I power action, everybody gains 1, then I rifle, you lose the 1 that you just gained, and I got to play my 3 cost upgrade. The special symbol, which it has 2 of on the die, deal 2 damage to an opponent's character, or 3 damage if that opponent has no resources. I think that's money.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And then the rest of the die is 3 range damage for 1, 2 disrupt, very important, 1 resource, and then 2 special symbols and a blank. I think this is a very strong card, even regardless of whether you play it on Tobias or not.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think it's a 2/2, 3 for 1, essentially, right, with the specials. And the specials aren't damage sides that you can remove, which is just great. And I think just from these cards, right, it seems like, and I really appreciated this difference. Another thing I remember Jeremy saying, I played against him in a game, and we talked about Destiny, what was happening. Besides the character pairings, also really strengthening up the identities of hero, villain, and the colors, so red, blue, yellow. So like Han, there's a new Han that is neutral yellow, and he does the best. It reminds me of Anakin that kind of did something different with heroes and something different with villains. The hero version has a special that does 2 indirect damage and gains a resource. The villain version does 2 indirect damage and they lose a resource.
They lose a resource, yeah.
So like it seems like yellow is now either direction focused on resources.
I love
which
that.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But villains want you to lose the money. Heroes want to gain the money.
Sure, just so like blue wants to prevent the damage, and hero wants to prevent, and then
blue hero.
Enemy. like to me,
the
it's always the enemy.
Because you play against me.
Yeah, and then blue villain wants to do the damage and remove your shields and just generally make your life
which
miserable.
is just a cool balance, right? It's that back and forth. But I assume we'll get a lot more cards that focus on like your opponent not having resources or removing your opponent's resources. And if that's the case, Tobias gets even better.
Yeah.
Because that power action, if I took 2 of your money, and then I'm like, oh, you can have 1 back. Or one of my favorite cards in the world is Fair Trade, which is like, I play it and I take your money.
Good.
So
he takes the money.
I takes it. I takes the money.
And I think that provides, and I know it can be frustrating, and as somebody who played Choke Deck in Thrones 1.0 with Greyjoy, by the way, I only did that because I hated big boards. I hate 16 things on the board, so you just keep the board small and it makes your decisions way more important.
I learned that fact when I was playing Burn, because I could consistently keep the
You
board
do the
small.
same thing.
And I much prefer a small board.
Yeah.
And I felt like I could outplay my opponent with a small board way easier.
It eliminates the potential for combos most of the time, and I think both of us are kind of like, we just don't like
combos,
that kind of unfair combo thing. But I really do like the play and counterplay of resource juggling that can happen now. Those decision points where it's like, I may need to keep 1 resource around to like turn off this ability, but if they have a card that's going to steal a resource or remove a resource, I may as well use it now. Or maybe now all of my decks, depending on the meta, need to have a way to ramp resources a little bit. And so my tempo plays are like gain resources, wait until I don't think you have the card, gain resources, do the thing, play at the end of my turn a few cards, and basically play around this denial strategy. There's some really cool things that happen when you have resource games. I did this in Netrunner a lot too. That was one of my favorite things about Netrunner, is balancing the resource back and forth and making sure that you're making better plays than your opponent based on the money that you have.
Sure.
I just think it's really fascinating. So I'm glad that Yellow's digging into those resources a bit
Well,
more.
and we already kind of saw it in earlier sets with like, there's the 0 cost ambush event where we each gain a resource, or there's one where I gain a resource, you draw a card.
Yeah.
And a lot of times players just save that to the very end. Their opponent claims, and then it's like, oh, I'll play it, I get a money, you get a card, which doesn't matter now. So I could see the same thing with Tobias, where it's like, if you, at the end, have his die showing special, and they've claimed, we each gain a resource, I trigger my special, I gain a resource, now I just have 2 extra money to play like a vehicle or something, I play it, I immediately get to use it, and like you didn't gain anything out of the deal.
It's perfect.
But that's the other thing is this is so thematic, because in the game, he's a thief, as his title says, thief for hire.
Yeah.
So like him basically conning you into the situation is pretty cool.
Makes a lot of sense.
Last but not least, we get his lady friend. I don't know if they're married or not in the movie. I don't think they cover that. But she's a headstrong renegade, 10 health, 10 points, 14 for elite, 2 damage, 2 range, 2 indirect, discard a special, and a resource.
I like that die a lot.
The special says, take a resource from an opponent. If that opponent has no resources, deal 2 damage to one of their characters.
So is this... do we know that this is Jeremy's first official, full set, right?
This is, from what I know, Lucas, who was the original designer, was still the lead all the way through the core concepts of, set 5.
Okay.
Which is the Way of the Force, the set that was not recently, I guess back in July came out. That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts? So the thing that I have gathered from Jeremy's kind of design sense is that he likes cards that are just consistently doing something and good, right? Like every time you play him in a game, it's like the consistent good cards are what he's playing. And he's finding a way to make all of these cards conditionally better, but always something.
Always
or
playable.
always good.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't have any money? 2 damage. Oh, you do? I'll take 1.
The problem in a card game when you have conditionally good cards, outside of people just playing them because they're fun, is like optimizing a deck. Eventually you start leaning, like we talk about this a lot, but it's like conditional cards go out of my deck. Even in Champions, we're starting to get to that point where it's like, this is conditionally really good, but like I would rather just have a guaranteed good.
Yeah.
Because like you never know what card you're going to draw, what order you're going to draw them in, and how many you're going to get to draw. So that's where like you look at someone like her, and it's like she's got a solid die with solid health. You can always take a resource from your opponent, but then if you're taking the last resource from your opponent, you also get to inflict damage on them. And of course, she fits with Beckett. They could be played elite together, and they could trigger lots of specials. You know, you get to his special and her special showing. He takes 1, you gain 1 from that. She takes your other 1 and then does 2 damage to you. That's really powerful, right? Like they are going to be a money machine.
I guess I didn't realize. So I'm used to there's some other ways in which games resolve. But so does this resolve as it's being read? It's like if you take that resource, do you then resolve the second part of the ability where you do the 2 damage? Or is it saying if they have a resource, you take it. If they don't have a resource, you do 2 damage?
Because there's a period. Hold on, let me get my rules compendium out. No, so it's not an if then, right? So essentially it would read, I don't know the exact moment of it, right? But like, so Tobias says, take a resource from an opponent. If that opponent has no resources, come and gain a resource. So even if you don't take 1 from them, he still can gain you a resource.
Yeah.
Same with hers, where it's even if you don't take 1 from them, if they don't have any money, she's going to do 2 damage.
But if you do take 1 and it's their last one, does it also do 2 damage?
It's the double whammy, yeah.
You're sure about that? That's
sure.
Crazy good.
Yeah, so essentially, if they have 2, if you're not taking the last one, you are taking the money. If you are taking the last one, you're taking money and doing 2. Man. And if they have none resources, then you're not taking the money, but you are doing 2 damage.
Wow.
That's 100% how that works. But you can imagine,
I'll believe you.
I think thematically, a mono yellow deck in like standard at this point with 6 sets is possible. I don't see these 2 pairing together and being like good enough. But it is, I may be completely wrong because like this is an insane amount of resource manipulation. And like if each of these has a special showing, it's like you can't gain resources anymore. Even if you spend your money, it's like the ability to ramp now is gone.
It would also be one of those things where these 2 characters aren't really what makes the deck. So like they enable a good deck, and the good deck is like all the big vehicles you're playing or all the big upgrades that now you can play. So
that's where I think like
worth
a 16-point elite or 15-point elite with him, 16 with her. But I could also see like if you ran a regular version of each of these characters, you're at 21. You can fit a 9-point character and get a second color in here.
That's true, yeah.
And you actually still get access to Tobias's power action. I would play Cunning, which would let you replicate either of these abilities, just depending on which one's going to be more beneficial for you. And then you get, blue or
that's pretty cool.
Red or whatever. So, but yeah, super exciting.
I'm ready to get back into Destiny. Honestly, I'm feeling it. Like we've got the Sealed coming up in November. We've got a Destiny Masters event here locally. So anybody interested in that, you should really come in and play. It's a Sealed event, and honestly, Sealed, it looks like across the galaxy should be out by then. I think it's the 16th or 17th, the event?
17th. It's the Saturday that KeyForge is coming out.
I cannot wait to hopefully be able to play in it, but at least to start exploring across the galaxy in a Sealed or draft format.
Sure.
And then play in trilogies.
That's the next thing. So the next qualifier is in December.
Yeah.
I think it's December 15th. But like, I will say these 2 characters at Elite in trilogies would be
now that's interesting.
Very playable because resources are extremely hard to come by in the trilogies format.
That's true, yeah.
And not only can they gain it, but they can basically keep your opponent off of the resources. So I wouldn't be surprised. It's cool because it's a thematic pairing, right? I wouldn't be surprised at all, given that now there's 3 sets in the trilogies format with this set. If you could play mono yellow, get away with it, and dominate with this like resource control. But again, that's so cool. Like the way if yellow is winning because they're taking your money, like controlling the money aspect of the game, that's completely correct.
Yeah,
like that's exactly what should be happening. So that said, if you go ahead and plug it and mention it while we're here on the Destiny train, we do have a certain amount of saga sets available still for this set.
Only a tiny certain amount.
They're almost gone, and then we're done. Like there's no more happening. So if you wanted to get on the saga set train, Get your pre-order in soon.
Now's literally
We also
the time.
have a limited amount of booster box subscriptions, so if you want to sign up, we'll charge you a week or two before the set comes out, whatever that ends up being, and you'll just automatically receive that basically on release or super close to release if you're in the US. Otherwise, it might take some time because, oceans exist.
Oceans, and thank you guys to everybody who has bought a Saga set or is a subscriber. We truly appreciate that. Can we talk about these things we're giving away real quick?
Yeah, sure. Speaking of appreciating subscribers.
Yeah, we'll probably do some of this for Destiny. We're just kind of in the mood.
Something happened.
I'll tell you what happened is there's so much of this stuff that has just previous to now, it gets run, we test it, we prototype it, and then what do we do with it, right? It doesn't feel right to throw it away because they're still all fully usable and really a lot of interesting designs, even if they didn't necessarily work for the main set. They sit on desks, they kind of get passed around, and it's you know what, we have people who would find value in this and that we can bring joy to by giving them some prototypes. So we're just starting to give them away, and we're just going to go nuts.
I'm going to bring some stuff over here.
So starting with, we're going to announce some winners next week on this here podcast. I'll narrate it for the folks listening only.
So
3 bags of KeyForge tokens, just a random grab bag, mystery bag of all sorts of tokens.
Just to be clear, these are all prototypes. So we go through a prototyping process with every token and every token set we make. And we go through a lot of different designs and shapes and sizes, and then we use them, and then we change it based on how it feels to use in the game and what's confusing and not. But these are all very usable prototype tokens for our soon-to-be-announced compatible with KeyForge token. So we're going to pick 3. I have 3 baggies here.
3 KeyForge subscribers.
KeyForge
Display subscribers.
KeyForge Destiny.
KeyForge Destiny
display subscribers. So a display is a box of 12 decks. A subscription, you automatically get one of those sent to you basically on or really close to release. It works just like the Destiny one I was explaining a second ago. So you sign up, we charge you a week or two before release, which is the 15th of November. We know that. They've announced a street date for that. So you get charged, it'll show up. And in the meantime, if you sign up for a subscription, you get a chance to win some of these prototype tokens.
Yeah, absolutely. We're also doing the same for Champions, same gig. So if you have a Champions booster box subscription, then you'll have a chance to win these on next week's cast, where we'll announce the winners. And these are a number of wooden tokens that can really be used for about anything. We are looking to use these for dormant tokens. So we noticed that when your crypt flare is out there, when abjuration triggers, you don't have a good way of marking physically the way that things are not supposed to rotate, and it's very easy to forget that. And that can really ruin a game. So we wanted to make a token that would do that. And so you can have a chance at winning a pack of 5 of these prototypes of those tokens. You can also use them to track actions if you're playing the orcs. And you can also use them to, there's something else that we might be looking at tracking too. You can use them as little damage trackers.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I play Chaos. I don't have a lot of make dormant abilities, so if I'm not playing against death, typically, you have some dormant stuff too in order, and so does
blessing.
So
That's so good.
But anyways, I don't have a lot, so I actually, when we were using them, they have the playmats with the numbers that go across them to track my health as it's going around, which is pretty cool. Or actually, the other thing I was doing is tracking my heroic actions, which is when I'd use a heroic action, I'd put it on the card that has the heroic action, because I have a lot of those. Did you know? Speaking of that, and speaking of Champions and KeyForge, side note,
just get there?
They both had some really big news.
Yeah, we should talk about
soon,
it.
Especially I like the formats for KeyForge, but Onslaught was big too for canvas. But did you know, surely you do, until less than a week ago, I used this manta ray looking thing, with all the eyeballs on it, to remove a unit, and then I couldn't play the unit from my hand?
Yes, you can only use a unit once per turn.
I didn't know that.
Whether that's playing, using the heroic action. I learned that really early because I was playing those Etherwing Scouts, those little hawk things, and I kept wanting to play it and then use its ability to move a champion. And I'd play it and I'd be like, it's grayed out. Why is that? And I thought it was a bug, so I looked it up, and it was then the rules say it's you can only use a unit once per turn, and using a unit is playing it, heroic action, pulling it from...
I had no idea. I used it, removed a unit, and then drew another one with my Archaon ability. And then I was like, I'll play the next one. And then it was and I was like, what's going on here? I thought I was going to get to do this.
So wrapping up these giveaways, we're going to keep doing this on the podcast. We're also giving away some things on the live stream. We're giving away 2 KeyForge decks that we played last week on the live stream. This week on the live stream, we're going to be drawing names from our KeyForge subscribers to give those away. So basically, if you subscribe, you're just going to randomly be entered to win all sorts of stuff over probably for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, we
really dig it.
We started doing this, and I think why we kept doing it is that the response was so amazing from the community and just people being grateful for us doing this, because we genuinely are grateful for all of our subscribers. That's how we're able to be here doing this and our live stream and everything that we do.
That's how we have these
all the
lights.
learning series and everything we do is not really possible without that. So we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So if you're a subscriber,
Spread the love.
we're going to keep giving out cool things and, you know, when and where we can. So stay tuned, subscribe if you're into that, and we appreciate it for sure.
Let me, I'm going to do Champions and KeyForge.
Okay.
But first I'm going to talk about Transformers for a second.
Because
Because I can't get over how hard it is to find information about Transformers.
Well, the website's hard to find. There's not a centralized community for it. There's not deck lists anywhere. There's
no news. There's no anything.
Well, it's just like randomly, we added it. The Metroplex deck is coming out in November, like November 21st or something. So we put that on the store, and we have a subscription for these like side decks that you can buy.
Expansions, yeah.
As well as the booster boxes. But I actually got a little bit by the Transformers bug recently, and so I'm running into this problem, which is I played some games, I fixed my decks, and I came in this weekend and played more games, and I got shredded.
Really?
Like just amazingly shredded. We had, there's this father-son, Thomas and Dylan, who moved into town recently, and they play Destiny, but they also have been playing Transformers, and just got wrecked. And it was great.
So
no, it was great.
Yeah.
So I got wrecked, and then I changed my decks, and I got wrecked a little less bad, and then I changed my decks, and then they had to go. So I'm feeling way better about it. I just today wrote a blog about this as well, but it is crazy how much more there is going on in that game than I expected. And like what happened is I got face checked. He had the first deck I played against was a tank deck. So there's like Megatron and another tank, and they both have like 3 or 4 armor on both sides.
Yeah.
And every card in the deck either adds tough, which means you flip more cards when you're defending, straight up armor, and has blue pips. So doesn't even care
You just
about
can't get through
attacking.
it.
It's just like
So you need Pierce.
you have to either have Pierce or you have to be hitting for like 10 plus to score any damage.
Wow.
It's like 8 to 10 every time on the defense.
That's amazing.
So, and then they have Pierce, so they don't care what they flip when they're attacking. They're just doing 3 or 4 every attack.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh,
like
the
3 or 4,
plotting tank
just
deck.
boom,
That's so
boom,
cool.
boom,
I
boom.
love the idea of that.
But I just ran into it, and my deck's like balanced, right? It's like I got an equal number of
You're playing
attack
fair
and
over here.
defense pips, and I got the white icons. I got some actions and upgrades, and I'm having a good old time. And then I show up and get trumped. But the cool part was essentially the archetypes of the game starting to reveal themselves, where it's like, oh, that's really genius that you're doing that. And then I started rebuilding my decks, looking at the cards, and it was like, you know, at first it was like, I'm building the Starscream Jets deck. This is fun. And then you start looking, it's like, actually, and this is the thesis of the blog, I'm building a direct damage Jets deck. Like, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And it's like, because they have abilities that just either move damage to your things or do direct damage, and then you
So
have
a burn
cards.
deck, you might say.
Bingo. And if you're familiar with me, triple bingo.
If there's burn in the game and if there's water in the game, you know we'll be there.
We need those underwater Transformers for you to get in, but
Do they? Wait, is that a real thing?
no,
Oh my
maybe like the
gosh.
submarine Transformers.
I'm
That'd be
waiting for
amazing.
Aquaman to come out,
like the
by the
manta
way.
ray looking. So, anyways, all that to say, I got bit, and the Transformers community is still new, and we don't like. There's not like tournaments or league nights here yet or anything like that. So they left. I switched up my deck, right, and then like I can't play it on an app.
Yeah.
I have no one to play it with until I'm going to play tonight. They also play Destiny, so they're coming, and we're both going to have our decks as well. And then it's a vacuum. Let's get to your point. It's
Yeah.
like I started looking online, and it's just like there's a Facebook group and there's a Reddit page, which is better than nothing. But like,
There didn't seem to be anything from the mothership. Like the Wizards, Hasbro, keeping
and, like,
the flames stoked, spreading news,
you're lucky if
previews
you
from the
find
next set.
not even that. It's like you're lucky if you even find like deck list or like discussions going
Yeah.
on. It's like there's some in the Facebook groups and stuff, but like it's the weirdest. Like because I know the game did well. It's
Yeah.
like you can't buy it right now; it's sold out.
Yeah.
And when that happened with Destiny early on, it's like the conversations happening around that game were everywhere and anywhere, just constant people.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that means there's a lot of people just playing at home and like not looking or creating content or whatever. But like there's a real vacuum, and like I don't know when the next, besides Metroplex, when the next set's coming out, what it does.
I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe it's
not coming out.
Well, maybe it's not aimed at, and this is probably the case. Maybe it's not aimed at the dedicated hobby audience that we're used to engaging with and being a part of. It could just be a total mass market. Put it on the shelves. You know, the 9-year-old that buys a couple of booster packs whenever they're checking out at the counter doesn't care when the next set's coming out.
Yeah.
Right? It's more Transformers. So maybe it's just not a priority.
Yeah, and I think they publicly somewhere said...
Yeah, who knows? Good luck tracking that down.
I remember someone mentioning the fact that they said they weren't going to be doing organized play for the game.
Okay.
And so that may not be the thing at all. And they maybe don't have it ready or aren't going to do it, or maybe the reaction's been better than they thought, so they change it.
Mass market, maybe?
But, you know, I mean, I think it's fine. Like, I think that's cool. Like, not necessarily mass market, but like just kind of being a fun game to play.
Yeah,
and like
just kind of hanging out on the periphery.
But I will tell you.
This I will tell you.
I believe in the free market. And the reason I'm going there is not
Frederick Hayek over here.
Not to get economic on it. But like I was saying earlier about the apps and the deck builders and everything, it's like if there's demand, it'll find a way, right? Which is like if there's enough people will start making content. People will start making ways to play this online. People will start having tournaments for it. People will start... but if not, then people just have a good time with it. Like, I'm having a lot of fun. I don't need to be Tier 1 tournament competition.
But you got to beat those tanks.
I got to beat those tanks. I'll report next week on how it went when I get smashed tonight, inevitably.
Let's switch gears to something that is seemingly aimed at the hobby market, but also very well outside of it. It's kind of starting from the inside and working outside. Transformers seemingly starting the outside and maybe working into the game stores. KeyForge. We played on the live stream this last Monday, and it was so fun. Not only was it fun, it was indicative of exactly what I was hoping KeyForge would offer.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you didn't watch our live stream on Monday and you're interested in KeyForge, but not sold on it yet,
must watch.
You should absolutely watch it. So what is the date today? What was the date on that stream?
The date of
17th.
Is 17th.
15th. The stream on the 15th should have hit YouTube on the 16th.
That was this week. That's crazy.
Yeah, it seems like forever ago, right? But if you are on the fence or not quite convinced, just watch that stream. I think we had a really good time, and what really happened, and this is what you were speaking to, is that played the first game and I wrecked you.
It was like, I got a lame duck deck here.
Yeah, and we had recently streamed the week before. You were using the Bolt Cube deck, and that does seemingly feel like a weak deck. Yeah. I'm curious if someone can make that good. Question marks. So we were played the first game. It was just like, that was bad. But then we played 2 more, and you annihilated me.
It was amazing.
Because we played the first game not looking at the decks or understanding what they were trying to do, just kind of exploring it. And then not only had we had the experience of the first game, but then we just looked through our decks and kind of looked at it. And you came out with a vengeance and just slaughterhoused me.
Yeah, it worked. So I think it's important to understand and to speak to the fact that the decks are not, like, you have a procedurally generated thing. You're not coming into the game with a game plan that you've constructed from scratch and you know what you're trying to achieve. It's like, here's these random cards, and do they work together? Maybe not the first time. Maybe not the second time, but then it's like, wait, I have a ton of elusive things. Wait, I have a ring of invisibility in here.
Yeah.
I have these things that do a lot of stealing of amber, so maybe I shouldn't play out on the board until they have 4 or 5 amber and then reverse my fate. If Garfield wanted to do the thing that he said he wanted to do, and I'll take him at his word on that one, that it was supposed to be about discovery and exploration and getting to know this pile of cards over time in a way that you can't change them, but you have to understand them. It totally succeeded in that moment.
Yeah, and we're not that far. We're like a month out right now from the release, and I'm super pumped to see it because, like, I have the decks we were using. I used Walker, I think is the name of the deck, the Defender of Jim Wall or something.
So good. That deck is good.
But I love that deck. I've also played with it a lot.
Yeah.
So like when I'm playing with it, I know the difference between that and like the other decks I've been playing, where it's like you just see it 3 or 4 games in, you start approaching a deck very differently, and it works, right? And there's big crazy moments. I had a moment against you in one of those games where it was a big swing, and you swung it right back, right? But it was cool because like we were both understanding and learning how to make these swings happen. And then it's like if one person is making that happen, the other's not, the other person is going to get tromped.
Yeah, they need to know.
But yeah, it was super fun. I think it was just a showcase of what the potential of the game. But we also they announced the formats of the game, and there were 4 or 5 in this initial article. And again, I think if you're approaching KeyForge with the same mindset you've approached every card game you've ever played, you're not going to get it. Like, it's very different, and like just at the onset, it's asking you to put down your expectations and have a new kind of experience. But like I said, if you are on the fence at all, you should definitely check out that stream.
Let me read to you these, and we're giving those 2 decks away on the stream next week. So
Which
if
is
you're a
kind of
subscriber
sad.
by then,
it was really funny because after that first one, you were like,
I don't want to give that away. That's like the exact deck I would want to play.
Yeah, I don't want to give it away. But yeah, both those decks go into a subscriber, and we'll be announcing that on the stream Monday.
All right, so we've got 5 formats listed here. The reversal variant, also known as best of the worst. You and your opponent swap decks in play. And so basically we would come to the table, and maybe we draw, you might want to draw one of these at the start of every round or something. Maybe it could change over time.
But that's reversal. It's like, that's where I want to bring an old bulk cube.
Yeah.
So it's adding value to like the decks you think are the worst, right?
Or it's bringing the decks that are the most confusing.
Yeah.
Like the one that I played on the stream. It's like, I don't think anyone can grasp this the first time they play it, but the second or third time, definitely. In the auction variant, players place their decks into a common pool before the event and bid chains for the decks of their choice. So this is good for an experienced group that's been playing together.
See, I picture this kind of like draft, where like you have a pot of 6 or a pot of 4, and it's like you lay your deck down, and you have to bid chains on the deck right then.
So by evaluating the deck list immediately, not having ever seen it played.
Yes.
That's interesting.
And then you basically bid on the chains, right? And then, so say I bid 5 chains to get a specific deck. But then I'm not even necessarily paired against that pod. It's just like, now we're just back in Swiss. It's just, this was my group to like chain bid.
I was thinking about, you do a Swiss tournament, and generally in a longer Swiss tournament, the top table, as you're kind of bouncing around and you're playing people, you cut to the top 8 and then you auction.
Absolutely.
That's so cool, right?
Yeah.
Then we have adaptive. You and your opponent play best 2 of 3 games. Game 1, you use your deck. Game 2, you use your opponent's deck. If there's a third game, you bid chains for the deck that won the previous 2 games.
Oh, wow.
Incredible, right?
That's amazing.
We play, you win. We swap decks, I win, and then it's like we both won with the same deck. Now we bid chains to see who plays it.
That's for sure.
So
That's
smart.
Crazy.
Survival variant, you start with I love this. I always play, of course, you got to play stock on Smash Brothers. You don't play time. Everybody plays stock. Should.
Should.
In the survival variant, you start with a number of decks. In smaller events, that's 2, maybe more in bigger events, and play in normal rounds, except if you lose with a deck, you cannot play it again. It's eliminated.
So maybe you have like 3 decks, and you basically get 3 lives.
In order to stay in the tournament, you need at least 1 deck to survive. Every time you lose,
That's
you
amazing.
lose a deck.
See,
it's
that's
incredible.
so fun. That's what I'm saying, though.
It's
incredible.
incredible.
That's where like the idea of this whole game is just like, it's crazy. Up. And if you have, let's say you have a stack of 20 decks, and then it's like, all right, survival, you get 4 lives, pick your 4. And then the next week, it's like the reversal, like pick your worst.
Yeah.
Like,
so cool. And then finally, the gauntlet variant, you and your opponent each bring 3 decks to a best 2 of 3 match, then choose one of your opponent's decks to eliminate. To win the match, you have to win with both of your 2 remaining decks.
So if you win, you have to play the other deck, and if you lose, you can keep playing the same deck.
Correct.
Probably. That's super cool. And again, like this is just 5 formats, right? I think they could introduce 10 more.
Yeah.
These are,
you can keep going.
This is endless.
It's crazy.
And all that said, like the sealed format is the one I'm probably most excited about, which is show up, get a random new deck, play 3 or 4 games, explore it, move on.
I could easily see that kind of sealed variant, crack the decks, play 3 rounds, and then move to an auction format. Or move to like a best of 3 swap deck.
Well, I'm picturing too with that like auction format, if everyone brings a deck, certain decks kind of become notorious in a community.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, well, if you bring your deck that has been winning recently,
people know
it, and then they know how to play it because they've seen you playing it, and then it's like this is the chance to like play it. So then you almost need these like sneaky good decks that like don't appear good from a list.
Yeah, it's so appealing to me.
It's so
crazy.
cool. Like, but the thing is the game, not all the other stuff you have to do to play the game.
Right.
Like that's the biggest
Just come in and play.
happening here. Yeah.
That's it. Let's move on to finally we'll do a little bit of Champions. I also need to talk about God Tier at some point. I really need to check in on them. They've been kind of under the radar. They've been kind of finalizing the game.
I think it's production, etc. time.
Champions. So Champions released their announced their second set, Onslaught. I'm glad they're naming their sets now. Onslaught, second set, it's a smaller set, which I'm a huge fan of. It seems like the pace of releases for this game is going to be very fast.
Yep.
It's got like the soul, what do they call them? The soul...
No idea.
Soul Eaters.
My Warhammer lore is weak.
It's a Death Maws. It's some class of thing. Night Haunts. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Night Haunts.
I was here for you.
I think the thing on the pack is like a big Night Haunt thing.
Okay.
And so that potentially is
cool.
a death theme
That's all I
for
know.
this set. So we got more cards coming. Meantime, they're also looking at changing Destruction in the app. That's supposed to happen this week, I think, or have happened
They're doing the
this
whole
week.
like rollout of the different solutions and testing, which is so cool.
So the game's moving. I've been playing so much of it.
You're apparently one game away from the old diamond, platinum. Is there a diamond tier?
Yeah, it's weird. I think it goes gold, platinum, diamond, master, maybe? Bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, master, all with divisions. It's a grind.
That's crazy.
You have to basically win like 4 or 5 for every one you lose to have any chance of actually doing it.
And the higher up you go, the tougher it gets.
Yeah, but I'm playing elves and I'm almost platinum. I think I'm probably the only person doing that.
Challenge. If you are playing elves and you're platinum, comment.
And I don't have any of those Leviathans because they're a complete waste of time. I will get into that in a blog this week, I think.
All right, do that. Yeah, that would bring some...
I want to see if I can get to platinum first and then write it so that I have a little, gravitas. Yeah. All right, so...
But that is second set. Well, worth mentioning.
Oh, yeah, Onslaught, yeah.
I think you were going to say something about the saga sets, probably?
Oh, yes, we need to mention that.
I feel like that was on my list to mention.
Thank you. Yeah, so the saga sets that we're doing for Onslaught, the second set of Warhammer Champions, this is where you essentially just get a full play set of everything. So if you only need one of the card, you get one of it, uniques, etc. So basically, if you get a saga set, it's as if you had perfectly distributed
cards,
however many booster boxes you needed to buy. So we're doing that, and the key thing we're doing this time is we've knocked the price down $40 off the actual saga set price for early pre-orders, which are going until today, Friday.
By today, you mean when this podcast is going live? Friday, the whatever day of the week that is.
I think it's the 17th, yeah. 19th.
Oh, you have a calendar up.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the little top corner for you to click the time.
There's a calendar right here. So Friday the 19th, this is going to end. We're going to end it later in the day. So if you're listening to this podcast now, we're giving a couple of hours or a few hours of window open. So if you want to do that, check, make sure, and see, and you can get in on this really, really good price for the entire second set. It's at like $249 right now, I think.
I think it's $259 for some reason.
$259? That sounds right.
Yeah, if it's 40 off, it's $259.
Yeah, $259.
That math holds.
We've all jumped on it, actually.
Yeah,
we're all
the group of 4, instead of one box on a subscription, we're going one saga set.
Splitting a saga set. So get on that if you're at all interested in having all the cards and just being done with it, which is really nice if you just want to build decks and move on. And scan in all your cards. Ask Covenant, shall we?
Okay, I didn't know. Do you have anything else on your list?
Ding!
That's it. I think we did it all.
Yeah, we need to move through here.
Yeah,
we're
running out of time. So you can use the hashtag askcovenant if you're unfamiliar on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We answer your questions right here on the show. Really appreciate everyone continuing to ask questions, and so we're going to hit a few of those here, and then we'll be out of here. First is from Matati, common questioner. Hey, Covenant people. Hello. My questions for you are, sorry, not easy ones. Hashtag askcovenant.
Oh, no, we need easy ones right now.
Number 1, what's the point of having cycles, which are a set of cards revolving around a certain theme and mechanics/keywords, instead of 1 or 2 big boxes in the premium expansion type, which they've done for Legend of the Five Rings? And number 2 is, aren't FFG too excessively dropping product for L5R? We already had 3 core sets, 2 cycles, 2 client expansions in a year. News are for another full cycle and 4 clan packs to follow in the next year and a premium expansion?
Man, Matodi, no idea, honestly. I think it's a problem that's just trying to be solved. The point of cycles, they're really, honestly, if you break it down, there really isn't one. I mean, if we imagine a set of a collectible game, all having a certain theme and mechanics going on in it, and then we imagine that set being scattered out over 6 months of slower releases, I think that's essentially where the idea started, right? It's like we want to have a consistent theme across a number of slower releases that are unraveling. So it's good to have a tied together, I think, kind of experience. But as compared to just dropping a big box like a collectible game would do, or like now we're trying with L5R, I don't know if there's any significant advantage.
I feel like the cycles really originated with, because Game of Thrones was the first LCG, but it was kind of like converted from a CCG.
Yeah,
they did the weird thing. But then right after that was Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And cycles are way more relevant to the competitive games, the cooperative ones, because Lord of the Rings, a cycle, is a set of packs that actually go together and tell us a story that combines. Same with Arkham. But that's where like it gets weird with L5R, where if they're not leveraging a cycle outside of just conveniently
like they're not changing organized play or the way that the game works based on where you are in the cycle.
Yeah, and that is a game that has a story going on. So they could leverage the cycles, I think, a bit more. And that's one of my biggest complaints about competitive LCGs is just that like they don't seem to be leveraging the most unique things about them, which is like this monthly release schedule with potentially whatever they want to do. So I don't know if there's a point as far as how fast they're releasing product. It's pretty typical for LCGs to get the core set, 2 cycles, 2 expansions a year kind of treatment for the first several years. So that doesn't seem faster than anything else. I think the difference is they've been piling the 6-pack 6-week stuff up.
Yeah,
so
it feels
it's this
different.
like weird spike, and then we had 6-pack 6 weeks, and then 2 months later a Scorpion Clan pack, and then 2 months later a premium box, and so on and so forth. So like it feels different, but typically we'd be getting packs this whole time.
Yeah.
So,
but it is certainly as fast as any LCG has been in the past competitively.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they have those big delays or gaps or whatnot, and if you average all of this out, it is a lot of cards.
Well,
they're also just trying stuff,
and
that's what's going on with L5R.
I also think too, like one of the problems with the LCG typically was how slow cards came out at first. Which
Is this an overcorrection?
we'll
Is
see.
that the question?
Time will
I guess. Question number 2 from Justin A. Great cast, guys. You're killing me with the tokens only on Warhammer subscriptions. That Saga set is too good of a deal. This is talking about, we are going to be announcing this at some point very near future. We're going to be putting some tokens in with Warhammer Champions subscriptions.
So
the Onslaught
the
set.
subscriptions or the Saga sets?
Well, that's the key. Because Justin needs to know, and I think everybody who has the same kind of concern needs to know, and I think we told him as much on the comment on YouTube, that we are doing it with Saga sets as well. So
Cool.
if you buy an Onslaught Saga set, and which is now, it's a great time to do that right now, literally in the next few hours, or if you are signed up for a subscription, any number of boxes, you will be getting some exclusive tokens in those shipments.
Rock on.
Ask Covenant, which November release are you guys most excited about? New Destiny, new KeyForge, new Warhammer Champions, X-Wing, Legion. It's not Legion. We don't care about Legion. There's a lot. Sorry, we just don't.
There are certain Legion things I care about.
There's a lot of FFG projects to choose from, as well as Champions, of course. On that note, do you think FFG is hurting itself releasing so much in one month? I think this is just the reality of retail. It's the holidays. You're trying to get all your products out. You're trying to make your end-of-year numbers look as best as they can. In a lot of instances, I mean, that's the thing. We don't know the status of Asmodee right now. There's all this swirling mass about Asmodee trying to get bought by different people and all these investment groups, like, going back and forth on it. So for them in particular, they might be trying to stuff as much revenue into the last quarter as possible to make the numbers look good. But generally, all retail outlets, I think, are encouraged to hit the holidays as hard as possible.
Sure.
Black Friday, Cyber Monday, moving into Christmas. So it's not a terribly surprising thing. New Destiny KeyForge Champions, X-Wing in November. I think X-Wing has had its big thing, and so compared to the other 3, it's not quite as exciting.
I mean, the thing about it for me is with X-Wing, what's coming out is the First Order Resistance stuff.
Yeah.
So like I've already played that stuff in First Edition. It's just not as like buzzy.
Yeah.
When like the Separatists and the Jedi come out, I think that'll be way more exciting for X-Wing Second Edition. For me personally, it's Destiny. I've been
back on the train.
Yeah, I've been playing other games, and I've been on break, and then like these spoilers start coming out, and it's like, oh yeah, this game's great, and I miss this community and what's going on. So I'm hopeful that the silence for 85 days didn't cause irreparable damage to the community. I don't think it did, or at least not a significant amount. So hopefully that gets back to buzzing. I'm just excited to have new cards and new set to play with. And we have a lot of cool events coming up. So
I'm kind of frozen on this one, actually.
What do I say?
Between Champions and KeyForge.
KeyForge is also really high on my list, and Champions is it's crazy.
So Champions, I'm the happiest I've been with a game in a long time right now with Champions, and so with that comes a little bit of trepidation with what happens when that second set comes in. Does the game go a place I don't want, like Destiny did with the second set? Does the game get too complex? Does the card pool get too, inconsistent, combo-based? All sorts of things can come in with a new set, so you never quite know. So I'm so happy with Champions now. There is a light bit of like, is it ever going to get any better than where it is right now for me? I like those smaller card pools.
Well, and even just like, if the extra cards just give you more to explore, but the fundamentals of the game stay the same,
then oh my gosh,
then that's great.
If I could know that for certain, that would be my number one. Otherwise, it's definitely KeyForge.
Yeah, I mean,
Definitely
it's
KeyForge.
really that's what I was gonna say. Is like it's a different kind of excitement for these kind of releases. I'm a little nervous about Champions. I'm purely excited about KeyForge, and I'm optimistically excited about Destiny.
Yeah.
But we will see.
I'm optimistic about Champions. Don't get me wrong either.
I'm super optimistic.
I mean, honestly, playing more and more at the tiers where it kind of gets streamlined into what you'd expect at a big like Worlds level tournament. You know, the same meta that you'd expect. Aside from a little bit on Gordrak, which even then I think that I'm kind of feeling like I can solve that a little bit, just with the cards that I'm playing. It's super tight. They have done a great job of balance for being young.
Well, I feel like the thing about that is it's not necessarily the cards that are balanced as much as the system, which is like the system is really self-regulating.
God, it's so good.
And it prevents it from getting too degenerate.
Yeah.
Just by its nature. So like that's where like a second set I'm not as nervous about because they'd have to really jump the gun.
They'd have to break a lot of rules.
Just
a lot
craziness.
of their own rules.
Yeah, which would be not what I would expect. You ready to get out of here? You want to do this third question?
Let's do the third one. I think this is a quick question. Question 3 from MJ at MJ in the Pit. MJ in Pit. Probably Pittsburgh would be my guess. At Team Covenant, is this Twitter? Yeah, this is Twitter. Is this Instagram? Does that look like Twitter to you?
It looks like Twitter.
Are those the icons?
That's definitely Twitter.
I stay away. At Team Covenant, aside from the games you regularly talk about, what tabletop games do you enjoy playing? Ask Covenant, nope, it's not me, that's me.
Those hashtags going on there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of games I enjoy playing that aren't the games we regularly talk about. A lot of the times this is like board games, so I really like Tokaido. Love Letter is always a good time. I think Splendour's a really solid game. Family games like Pitch, like old kind of card games like that.
Poker, you love poker.
I do love poker as well. I'm trying to think if there's any other games that I really
Anything
enjoy.
new around we've been really busy with the ones that we're focusing
There's
on
a
right
lot
now.
of them
but
now.
Did you ever get a chance to play Root or look at Root at all?
I've heard about it.
Yeah.
Haven't
That's
really.
all that, me too. I just heard about it.
There were whispers.
For me...
I have that one game coming in. Discover? Lands Unknown?
Oh, Lands Unknown,
So
yeah.
we'll see if that's in
I have been actively avoiding any information about that game so I can just crack it open and see what happens.
Yep.
Which I think is what it's about.
Yeah, I've just seen a little art flying by on the FFG homepage when it comes up.
I'm a huge fan, MJ, of Swords and Strongholds. And recently I have been playing a lot of The Mind. That's Pandasaurus is the one that's putting that out.
It's supremely simple, but great.
It just goes back to the kind of the principle of the matter. Like, it doesn't have to be fancy and overly complicated. I played it for the first time with a group of friends, old Netrunner friends. Sasha, Spag, Zach Cavis, John, D'Alessandri. Just a great group of people that I first played that with, and that certainly helped to make my impression of it so good. But it's a blast. I mean, it's a great social game. It's a great game for a group of 4 people. Anybody can play it. There's no barrier of entry.
It's super good.
Really, really awesome.
It's a great game. All right, well, thank you all for listening. Remember, you can use the hashtag AskCovenant. We'll answer your questions right here on the show. Don't miss the giveaway. Sign up periods. Do it now or never do it, or do it whenever, actually.
Do you have a question?
Whenever. I have a lot of questions.
Do you want to give one?
Do you have a good question, or you want me to hit it?
I was kind of curious. I was going to throw this other question back around. What is everybody most excited about in November? Because it's an insane month.
That was my question.
Was it really?
That's it. So what are you most excited about coming out? I won't even say November, in the next couple of months.
And why?
And why are you excited about it? Yeah. What does it mean to you?
I want to know.
Till next time, keep playing.